How to plan and handle ongoing WordPress development. Many of our clients who come to us actually come and say, well, we used to work with a freelancer, but they got too busy on other projects, or we were just calling them every couple of months for a bunch of things and they're no longer available, or they can't scale, or something else. So growing businesses relying on an online technology always need ongoing development as a part of their kind of online presence, just making sure that their product is up and running, can always be up to speed with the latest changes, and also adapts to other feature, user experience requirements, accessibility at times, is being maintained properly, and so on, in order to make sure that the product actually works as expected. So the first tip, and it's going to be a compilation of several tips on how to handle that ongoing WordPress development. The first tip is actually finding a team that you can trust, a team that you can work with in the long run. Now, just as an example, some of our clients have actually spent months and months looking for the right WordPress vendor to work with in the long run, because our average retention rate of a retainer customer is nearly 3 years, meaning that customers occasionally work with us for more than 3 years, and they want to have a team that they can trust and can work with them alongside. So it's actually a continuous process that's not as easy as just outsourcing a specific task, which is clear from end to end and could be measured or justified or kind of aligned in an easy manner, regardless of the vendor. So make sure you actually validate that and trust that and find a team that you can work with in the long run, because some vendors only work on a per project basis, some are only maintenance but don't do ongoing development. So depending on what you need, just find someone who is available in the long run and can help you scale. Number 2 is discuss the right communication channels. Because when you have a long-term project that evolves over time and it's an ongoing initiative, you want to be sure that the communication channels that you want are something that the company offers. For example, we don't do phone support here. And we don't do that simply because we are spread across different time zones. We do have some people at the office, but that doesn't mean that they're always available to just pick up phones. We are not a call center or anything like that. So we do have, for example, Slack or Asana. We do have different forms of ticketing for our customers to interact with us and kind of tackle different types of issues. So if it's something that's aligned with you and you have more or less similar best aligned processes to communicate together, that's really important before moving to the next step. Number 3 is find an suitable ongoing plan that works for you. Again, some clients do need ad hoc solutions, like their platforms are pretty simple, they're a small business, they don't really have a lot of innovation going on, so they just want the basic maintenance handle with some ongoing features here and there. That requires a specific type of company. There are companies that only need maintenance, which is fine. There are companies that need ongoing projects, which are one waterfall project, then another one, then a third one, which also requires a certain type of company. And there are also retainer companies that can allocate lease people for you or just allocate entire teams for you in the long run, which is what we do, in a sense that really helps you make sure that all of your responsibilities and all of your needs are being met in the best possible manner. Number 4 is confirming reaction protocol for emergencies. Whatever you discuss with the company, if you want to make sure that your website is up and running at all times and whatnot, you want to make sure that you have a chain of command and you have a specific workflow on what happens if something goes down. Like what most companies do is say, outages are mainly a problem that comes from hosting providers, so talk to your specific hosting vendor. Or if there's an outage with your marketing automation tool, talk to, say, HubSpot or Pardot or whoever it is dealing with your marketing automation. Other clients do want specific companies or like their vendor to be managing their entire technical ecosystem, meaning that they have to have 24/7 support or at least coverage across different time zones in order to make sure that all problems could be met in the best possible manner. Or even if the company doesn't provide phone support for regular stuff, at least they have a phone you can call for different types of technical emergencies and technical problems that you're dealing with on a day-to-day. Number 5 is discussing long-term plans and strategy. Regardless of your plan, you do want to share as much as possible with the vendor for your business model, your needs, and your goals, because many of the best practices that are going to be applied or not depend on your long-term strategy. For instance, if you never want to introduce new features to your website over the next 5 years and you only want uptime, meaning that the website should be up and running, that's one strategy. It means that investing in new features is often not the best technique, so some shortcuts are going to be taken as a result of that. If, on the other hand, you want to scale, you want to build new features, new frameworks, new architectures, store a lot of data, do data statistics, analytics, and whatnot, then the solutions have to be really well refined. An off-the-shelf plugin is not really going to solve your problems, and it's more about being custom-tailored solutions that could really maximize the return of investment on your specific type of component or the type of features that you like. So this is really important to just align those long-term priorities and figure out a way to actually make it work. As a result, you also want to make sure that you have a certain type of kind of allocation of resources for you, be it on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, so that you know that whatever you need could be accomplished by the company. And of course, as a result, you also want to make sure that this specific company has the resources to tackle additional emergencies or extra priorities or additional support or anything else. So those are important things that you want to kind of document and make sure is clear with your particular vendor. Number 6 is scheduling regular sprints. That's really important and can help a lot. We've had lots of cases with clients just coming up and say, this is super important, this is very high urgency, this is yada, yada, yada. And this happens 3 times a week. Now, this means that in order to make sure this happens, this client should have booked at least one full-time resource internally who can abandon whatever they're doing and start working on this new emergency at any point of time, because it's a full-time resource in-house. Sometimes those problems are more complex. Some are front-end, back-end, server management, marketing, consulting, ad ops, or something else. Now, this means that we need to be able to pick different types of resources at all times in order to be able to react to this challenge. As you can see, that's not always possible. So making sure that at least the better part of the process is broken down into sprints, into some sort of milestones, and the company can allocate certain resources and plan their time management, resource management, QA, project management internally in order to deliver best quality is super important. This way, you'll make sure that whenever there is an emergency, the company will have the resources to tackle it. But if you have emergencies 3 or 4 times a week, it gets really tricky to handle those internally, which is, again, needless to say. And number 7, try to separate the different types of tasks into some modular or kind of clear to define processes, or again, types of priorities. For instance, we have different layers of, different levels rather, of priorities that we try to deal with on a monthly basis with most of our clients. We start with emergencies. Whenever there's an outage, server down, network interruption, we jump on it right away because we don't really care about new features. They're lower priority until the website is up and running and operating as expected. Number 2 is current priorities, daily tasks or weekly tasks or something else that's really kind of very important right now, or something that the client just reports as something that really needs to happen very soon. Number 3 is the weekly sprint that we've discussed. Could be weekly, could be every couple of weeks. It really depends on how you align it. Then there's the maintenance. There are ongoing gardening activities we have to tackle, such as, say, plugin updates, regular QA, standard deployments, or other operative performance optimization, security code reviews, and whatnot that happen on a regular basis, but are not as urgent. You know, they can wait a couple of days or so if there's something that's more important. And then those are the long-term goals. Could be research, business analysis, working with test groups, user experience research and reviews, and other types of activities that are also important in the long run, tracking KPIs, making sure we're at the right path. Other long-term activities that we need to tackle anyways, but again, they are not as constrained in time. We need to make sure that the short-term initiatives we work with on are aligned with those long-term goals. So that's pretty much it about planning and working on ongoing WordPress development projects. If you have any specific questions or anything that wasn't clear, let me know in the comments and I'd be happy to share some additional thoughts with you.